In a recent video, Fred talked about how institutions of sense-making, like religion or science, locate the individual in a relatively fixed point or viewpoint position that being fixed is pregnant with a baggage of blind spots and occlusions, and carries a set of attitudes and dispositions that constrain perceptions. This basically means that many aspects of actual or socially abstracted events are ignored or excluded, and more importantly, when not ignored, are distorted to fit into a certain template or a template to a particular viewpoint or mindset that people adhere to. And this is the way predispositions can mediate conceptual landscapes. This was a great video with the title Science as Self-Religion, I believe. Now, as to these predispositions, I would add that there are many motivations behind them. And one of that is that, like water flowing downhill, our conceptions, our making sense of the world, our conceptualizations, always find the easiest path. So whatever worked so far in our life, in our flight to a mental niche or an emotional composition with which we align ourselves to the phenomenon of the world, these solidify into sets of predispositions, and hence our expectations that go hand in hand with our sense of control. Now, understanding is intimately linked to all this. When I listen to somebody who argues for something with which I don't really resonate with, I find myself almost shaking my head and composing my somatosensory stuff against the argument that he makes. And at that point, I may realize that it is important to suspend judgment and to try to inhabit the other person's landscape would not be a mistake, because tracking down the logic from which he speaks, I may understand him more properly in emotional terms, at least. So, suspending our certain way of looking at things and trying and inhabiting others' viewpoint is crucial in understanding others. And this is where I quote Emerson again, who is a great thinker, I think, where he says, "Power ceases in the instant of repose, It resides in the moment of transition from a past to a new state, in the shooting of the gulf, in the darting to an aim. Now, if we substitute the word power for understanding here, we've got the following result. Understanding resides in the moment of transition. Understanding ceases in the instant of repose. And this instant of repose means that we adhere to a certain mindset, and that's not powerful. That's against power, that's against understanding. And that's why I tend to distrust some people who speak in a certain manner, which is not a problem in itself, but if I see that they speak in that certain way with regards to everything they encounter, they use the same vocabulary, the same logic of argument, and that's when I feel distrust. So a transition is crucial, because even if we share our biology, the quality of our socio-historical or biohistorical experiences are not the same. They are unique to us, to each one of us, and there are nuances that demand adjustments when we communicate. There is a role for the willing suspension of conceptual hubris. And this is so because there is never a simultaneous overview or vision of all the angles involved in a situation or a problem. It's always cross-sections, and particular cross-sections, specific, individual specific cross-sections that qualify our perceptions. So when I communicate, I should be aware of this and not let my viewpoint constrain the other person's viewpoint, because in terms of hierarchy, one position is not more relevant than another, since there is no all-encompassing position. What is important is the transition from one viewpoint to another, the ability of transition. In a word, understanding. It's not the amount of knowledge that counts. It's the ability of transition or elasticity with which we command this knowledge. And here is a proposition. Understanding is a process that exists in transitions. Understanding is the extension of the self. Okay, that's all. Thanks, Fred.